afternoon or evening. What is up? My name is Maarten. Thank you for watching this different kind of video actually. Right now we are standing here on the top of the bridge at the river, at the torrent actually. And you might say like, ooh, it is late, right? No, actually not. It is a 6:45, something like that, and it's 18 degrees in September, like right now, beginning of September. Has to do with the weather of last night. Now, if you're a little bit like me, you always wonder stuff, and I wonder, for example, how it is when Greece wakes up. I remember from when I was a little bit younger and I used to waste hours at the internet cafe here in Greece. I used to wake up and I would check out sometimes like outside how it got bright outside, and just like right now when you still hear the night crickets chirping away and when the sun is just coming up and people are going to work, and especially in Greece there is a different kind of work that is actually very closely traditional and culture related, and that has to do with the market and the fish, and that's what I wanted to find out today. So I remember that when we always used to visit Platania, that in the early mornings the big trawlers would come in with the fish, and I wondered how it went here in Volos. It is almost 7 o'clock as I said, and we are going to check out the market and the fishing boats. That I noticed right now, for someone that also used to sell cheese at the Dutch market, they actually start quite late. We used to start at around 6 o'clock in the morning, and we would build up and we would be done at 7 o'clock, but here they're still building at 7 o'clock and I don't see any fish, so let's check down at the KAIKI. So I've been trying to find a little bit of a wind silent spot because it's very windy down here. Don't have a good microphone for that. Not to blame that. Anyway, it is beautiful around here, especially at this time of day. The sun barely has come up all the way. As you can see behind me, it's still trying to reach out. It's still trying to warm up the entire city again. But it's beautiful. As you can see, here's where they lay all the nets on the coastline. These boats are called KAIKI. So they're fisherman boats actually for like 2 or sometimes usually 1 person. Now there are 2 different kinds of KAIKI. There is the kind that is like here, laying behind me with the nets, that they roll out nets after a long time. They all have these winches up front of the boat, and they can hook up all these nets that they have laying around here. And the 2 men that you saw earlier on the boat in the B-roll, they're sitting on the boat actually fixing the nets, because those nets really get ripped up in the rocks as well, and sometimes just by getting out the fish. But they need to fix those nets, and that's what they were doing on the boat. They're just sitting there for hours and hours, and then they're fixing these nets. And really, I sometimes do not know how they're doing it. If you look at this ball of rope, and not just one ball of rope, a lot of balls of rope. See, there are those winching systems that they use on the top of the boat to make sure that the nets go out and in. And right now in the back you can also see the ferry about to leave. There are two ferries actually laying there. One is the big Minoan ferry and the other one goes directly to Skiathos as well. And the Minoan ferry does go a little bit further as well sometimes. And the sun is coming up. It is very, very nice. You can clearly notice that it's getting warmer. It was really 18 degrees when I left the house, and it was just because of the rain and all that stuff. And right now it is really warming up. So the other kind of kaiki is the one that is not laying here actually. They're being used a lot of times in Paros, around Paros, because they're using light fishing. Officially it is not completely allowed anymore. The big trawlers still do it sometimes. They throw out lights and it paralyzes pretty much the fish a little bit. They get into a certain state of mind and they just float around a little bit in the water, and you can just pick them out with like a pick fork or a spear or something like that. They hang a gas lamp on the front of the boat. Like where here is the winch, they would hang a gas lamp up front and they would just stay on the front of the boat and check when the fishes are ready to be picked out of the water. This is, by the way, one of the biggest kaikis that I've seen around here, but it's still nothing compared to the large trawlers that are laying all the way in the back there. Those are from big corporations and they're really selling it. Not like they just did here from the boat. There you might have a chance, but they barely do. I guess this is all old garbage nets. Now, one thing that is also really nice to see is that all these boats have a very clear personality. You see that some boats are completely perfectly white, some boats are perfectly red, and some are blue. Not just that with the colors, but some are so clean and perfectly organized, and the others are like, some people can afford normal buoys to throw out with the nets, but other people use, I don't know, like empty bottles. They use old oil drums, stuff like that, and they throw it in the water to hang the nets on, so to say, float on the surface to pick them up later again. And you can clearly see that there are so many different kinds of fishermen around here, that the one does it really for work to stay alive, and the other one, he does it just for the hobby, just like that. There we are. Wondering, how do they store all those fishes that they catch? Good question, good question. I wondered myself as well. That's why I'm also saying it. Right now at this moment I'm standing at the boats and they all seem to have up front a little fridge. Not the most modern ones, but that's also why you can buy ice, for example, because the best way to keep fish fresh is to drop them straight into the ice. Now it seems cruel maybe, they will die eventually of course, but they also get kind of numb, and that's why they do it like that. The funny thing is also that they stay so super fresh sometimes that at the moment that they're being delivered at the fish sale place or at the market, they're still so super fresh that they don't even need to be cooled, because if the ice melts at the market, which happens a lot of times, the fish still can be sold as fresh. That's how fresh it is. It is fresher than most of the supermarkets actually. Even unless it's of course like deep frozen directly from the boat, but that barely happens because those trawlers, those big ones, they're sometimes gone for 3-4 days. These little boats, they leave for an evening and they come back. See, this one has the cooler just standing here, and the other ones do have it standing right up front of the boat, as you can see right here. They're just old cool boxes or fridges, or this one actually has two.
Onde pra descobrir? Vou ligar de lá, Piranhas. Yeah,
So as the last guy on the boat was just telling in Greek too, the other guy also, it takes about 2 days until, like, you can keep them uncooled for 2 days and they would still be fresh and you can still eat them perfectly well. And it's very nice actually. You will not see that in a lot of places. Everything that is like frozen for a long time, it's completely different than eating it fresh here. He will even clean the fish for you here if you want to. So you can cook it at home, so you don't need to do it yourself. And they are very like open to tourists, I've noticed, because I look like a tourist when I walk around like this. I do live here, people, but that's okay. I'm fine with it. I look like a wolf. I look like a foreigner. It just gives such a good feeling to see these people do something that they have been doing for years and it's still tradition and they keep on doing it anyway. Now I think it's time for a Greek coffee or something. Street dogs. So many stray dogs. There's an entire pack and they're hunting down all the like vans that drive by. The vans and the pickup trucks. You wonder what amazes me more? How cars like that can still be road legal. Oh, nice. Now this behind me here, those are the big boys. Those are the big trawlers that really empty the seas, and that also makes a problem for the smaller hobby fishermen, because they're not allowed a lot of times to fish anymore without certain papers. These guys do have those papers. If you just can imagine that the little fisherman was just standing there with 3 boxes with a couple of fish, you know, 3 boxes only with a couple of fish in there. And these big trawlers, they carry about like 100 or 200 of those same boxes with them, just to fill up with fish. I can also understand like why it's very difficult for Greeks sometimes right now still to continue what they're doing. Most of the small kaikis that you see, or kaikia, is most of what you see is still hobby fishing, and there is not a lot of young generation that wants to take it over anymore. So sadly enough, it's something that is getting extinct. It's a tradition that is slowly disappearing, especially the light fishing. It's like already forbidden in a lot of places as well. To enjoy my Greek coffee. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you're not subscribed yet, and I thank you for watching. Bye.